Imagine a young boy in ancient Rome, Gaius Octavius, quiet, often unwell, but with a will of iron. His great-uncle was Julius Caesar, Rome's most powerful man. Caesar saw promise in Octavius and began to mentor him, bringing him on campaigns and teaching him the art of leadership. Octavius learned quickly, observing Caesar's command over soldiers and crowds. Rome was dangerous. Power meant survival, and Octavius was being prepared for a world of ruthless politics. Sent to Apollonia for further studies, he built friendships with Marcus Agrippa and Maecenas, future allies. These bonds would become the backbone of his political network. Octavius understood early that loyalty was a powerful weapon. He was building his team before he even knew the game. Then, news from Rome would change everything. The death of Caesar would thrust Octavius into the heart of Roman power struggles. He was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. The lessons learned from Caesar and his time in Apollonia would soon prove vital. Octavius was no longer just a student. He was about to become a player in Rome's deadly game. The fate of Rome would soon rest on his young shoulders. The world he knew was about to be turned upside down. Octavius was ready. The story of Rome's greatest transformation was about to begin. In 44 BC, Octavius received shocking news: Julius Caesar was dead, assassinated by senators who called themselves liberators. Rome plunged into chaos. No one knew who was in charge. Caesar's will named Octavius as his adopted son and heir, granting him Caesar's name, fortune, and the loyalty of his soldiers. At just 18, Octavius made a bold choice. He sailed to Italy to claim his inheritance. Mark Antony, Caesar's general, dismissed him as a boy, but Octavius was determined. He used his inheritance to win the people's favor and rallied Caesar's veterans to his side. With a private army, Octavius quickly became a force in Roman politics. Antony underestimated him, a mistake that would haunt him. Octavius's rise was swift. He was no longer a mere heir, but a contender for power. The city watched as a new struggle for Rome's future began. The Republic's fate hung in the balance. Octavius's youth was no longer a weakness. It was his weapon. The game for Rome had truly begun. The city braced for the next move. Octavius was ready to play. Rome would never be the same. Mark Antony, threatened by Octavius's growing support, refused to hand over Caesar's inheritance. Tensions soared. Both men raised armies, and civil war loomed. The Senate, fearing Antony, backed Octavius, hoping to use him, then discard him. Octavius defeated Antony in battle, but the Senate snubbed him, teaching him a harsh lesson: trust no one. Furious, Octavius changed tactics. He joined forces with Antony and Lepidus, forming the Second Triumvirate. Together, they seized control of Rome and unleashed brutal proscriptions, executing enemies and seizing wealth to fund their armies. The alliance was ruthless but effective. Cicero, once Rome's greatest orator, fell victim to their purge. The triumvirs eliminated opposition and prepared for war against Caesar's assassins. Rome was gripped by fear, but the triumvirate's power was absolute. Octavius had learned to wield both friendship and fear. The next battle would decide the fate of the Republic. Why? With Rome under their control, the triumvirs turned east to confront Brutus and Cassius, Caesar's assassins. The decisive clash came at Philippi in 42 BC. Antony led the charge. Octavian, often ill, inspired his legions with the Caesar name. The battles were brutal. Cassius and Brutus both died by suicide after defeat. The Republic's last defenders were gone. The triumvirs ruled unchallenged. They divided the empire. Lepidus took Africa, Antony the East, and Octavian Italy and the West. Octavian faced the tough task of settling veterans in Italy, consolidating his power base. The alliance was uneasy, but for now, Rome was theirs. The old Republic was dead. Octavian's real test was just beginning. The seeds of rivalry were sown. The world was not big enough for 3 rulers. The next conflict was inevitable. While Octavian managed Italy, Antony fell under Cleopatra's spell in Egypt. Their alliance and romance scandalized Rome. Octavian seized the moment, launching a propaganda campaign painting Antony as a traitor seduced by a foreign queen. He portrayed himself as the true Roman, Antony as a threat to Rome's traditions. The triumvirate fractured. Lepidus was exiled, leaving only Octavian and Antony. Antony's marriage to Cleopatra, despite being wed to Octavian's sister, fueled the feud. Octavian obtained Antony's will, revealing plans to give Roman lands to Cleopatra's children and be buried in Alexandria. Outrage swept Rome. Octavian declared war, not on Antony but on Cleopatra, making it a fight for Rome itself. The stage was set for a final showdown. Rome demanded a champion. Octavian answered the call. The fate of the empire would be decided at sea. The world watched as rivals became enemies. The end game had begun. In 31 BC, Antony and Cleopatra's forces faced Octavian's fleet at Actium. Agrippa, Octavian's admiral, blockaded Antony, cutting off supplies and morale. Desperate, Antony and Cleopatra tried to break out. The battle was fierce. Antony's massive ships against Agrippa's nimble fleet. Smoke and chaos filled the sea. Suddenly Cleopatra fled. Antony abandoned his men to follow her. Leaderless, Antony's forces surrendered. Octavian's victory was total. He pursued the defeated lovers to Egypt. Antony, believing Cleopatra dead, took his own life. Cleopatra, refusing to be paraded in Rome, followed him in death. Their suicides ended an era. Octavian stood alone as master of the Roman world. The Republic was finished. The age of emperors had dawned. Rome's destiny was now in Octavian's hands. The world had a new ruler. The empire was born from the ashes of civil war. Victorious, Octavian returned to Rome at 33, holding absolute power. He was careful. Romans hated kings, so he claimed to restore the Republic. In truth, he kept all real authority. In 27 BC, the Senate named him Augustus, the revered one. He ruled as first citizen, masking his power behind republican titles. Augustus reorganized government, reformed the army, and launched massive building projects. He ushered in the Pax Romana, a golden age of peace and prosperity. Rome was transformed from chaos to order, from brick to marble. Poets like Virgil and Horace flourished under his patronage. Augustus's reign marked the end of the Republic and the birth of the Empire. He outlasted all rivals, shaping the future of Rome and the West. The sickly boy became Rome's greatest ruler. Through ambition and skill, he built an empire on the ruins of a republic. Augustus's legacy would echo for